I overheard my mom talking about me to my aunt. What they've been hiding for 15 years destroyed our family forever. The rain drummed against my bedroom window as I lay in bed, fighting off another bout of insomnia. It was nearly midnight when I heard Mom's voice drifting up from the kitchen, unusually animated for such a late hour. I wouldn't have paid attention, but something in her tone made me pause, a tremor of anxiety I'd never heard before. Sarah, I can't keep this from him much longer, Mom was saying. My Aunt Sarah had arrived earlier that evening, unexpected and visibly shaken. He's 17 now. He has a right to know. My heart skipped. They were talking about me. I crept to the top of the stairs, my bare feet silent on the hardwood floor. The kitchen light cast long shadows down the hallway, and I could see Mom pacing back and forth, her silhouette jerky with nervous energy. Lisa, you promised. Aunt Sarah's voice was firm but pleading. We all promised. Think about what this could do to him, to all of us. I know what we promised. Mom's voice cracked. But look at him, Sarah. He's been having those dreams again, asking questions about his childhood, about why he doesn't remember anything before age 3. The therapist says suppressed memories can surface during adolescence. What if he remembers on his own? My blood turned to ice. Dreams. I'd been having vivid, disturbing dreams for months. Flashes of a woman with dark hair singing lullabies, a man's angry voice, the smell of smoke, and always, always the sound of sirens. Dr. Martinez, my therapist, had suggested they might be repressed memories, but Mom had dismissed it as stress from school. The fire destroyed everything, Sarah whispered. There's no evidence left. Marcus doesn't exist anymore, remember? Legally, officially, he died in that house. Marcus. The name hit me like a physical blow. In my dreams, someone always called me Marcus. But he's not Marcus, Mom continued, her voice breaking. He's been David for 15 years. He's my David. I raised him, loved him, gave him everything. After we took him, Sarah interrupted harshly. Don't romanticize what we did, Lisa. We kidnapped a 2-year-old boy. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. Kidnapped. The word echoed in my mind as the pieces of my fractured life suddenly began to fit together in a horrifying new pattern. His parents were drug addicts, Mom said defensively. They were going to get him killed. You saw that house. Needles everywhere, no food. Marcus was malnourished and covered in bruises. We saved him. We stole him, Sarah said flatly, from a crime scene while his parents burned alive upstairs. I gripped the banister so hard my knuckles went white. The room spun as fragments of memory crashed over me. Not dreams, but real memories I'd somehow suppressed. The house that smelled of chemicals and fear. The woman who sang to me while men shouted in other rooms. The night everything went wrong. They were already dead when we got there, Mom was saying. The house was engulfed. We were just EMTs responding to a call. But when I saw that little boy sitting in the yard, crying, with no one to claim him. The official report said no survivors. It was easy to lie, Sarah finished, to falsify records, to make Marcus disappear from the system and create David out of nothing. My legs gave out. I sank onto the stairs, my mind reeling. Everything I thought I knew about myself was a fabrication. My name, my history, my very identity, all lies built on the grave of a child who had officially died 15 years ago. You don't understand, Mom's voice rose. I couldn't have children, Sarah. The doctors said it was impossible. And there he was, this beautiful little boy who needed someone to love him. I gave him a good life, the life he never would have had. By erasing who he was, Sarah shot back. By destroying any chance he had of knowing his real family. What about his grandparents, his extended family? They've been mourning a dead child for 15 years while you played house with their grandson. Grandparents. The word pierced through me like a blade. Somewhere out there, people who shared my blood had been grieving for me, believing I was dead. I thought of all the birthdays, holidays, milestones they'd missed because of my mother's, no, Lisa's selfish decision. His real parents were criminals, Lisa insisted. They would have killed him through neglect, and I gave him stability, education, love. You gave him Stockholm Syndrome, Sarah said coldly. You made him love his captor. The truth of those words hit me like a sledgehammer. Every happy memory, every moment of love and security I'd felt, it was all built on a foundation of lies. I wasn't David Morrison, honor roll student with a bright future. I was Marcus. What? I didn't even know my real last name. The private investigator is getting closer. Sarah continued. The Hendersons hired him 6 months ago. New technology is helping them re examine cold cases. It's only a matter of time before they trace the irregularities in the adoption records back to you. The Hendersons, my real grandparents, still searching for their lost grandson after all these years. I can't lose him, Lisa whispered, and I heard her crying. He's my son. He's all I have. He was never yours to keep, Sarah said gently. And now you have to choose. Tell him the truth yourself, or let him find out when the police come knocking. I stood up slowly, my body moving on autopilot. My entire world had collapsed in the span of 10 minutes, and I felt strangely detached, like I was watching this happen to someone else. I walked down the stairs, each step echoing in the sudden silence that had fallen over the kitchen. They looked up as I appeared in the doorway, Lisa with her tear-stained face and Sarah with her guilty expression. Neither seemed surprised to see me. Maybe they'd known I was listening. Maybe part of them wanted me to hear. Marcus, Lisa whispered, and the name sounded foreign and familiar all at once. My name is David, I said automatically, then stopped. Was it? Had it ever really been? Honey, let me explain. Explain what? The words came out harsh, bitter. Explain how you kidnapped a toddler from a crime scene, how you falsified records and stole 15 years of my life, how you made my real family think I was dead. Lisa flinched as if I'd slapped her. I saved you, your biological parents. Were my parents. I cut her off. Whatever they were, whoever they were mine, and you took that choice away from me. I looked at both of them, these women who had shaped my entire existence through deception. You took everything away from me. Sarah cleared her throat. David, Marcus, there's more you need to know. Your grandparents, the Hendersons, they've never given up looking for you. They have resources, connections. When this comes out, and it will come out, there will be legal consequences. Good, I said, surprising myself with the vehemence in my voice. There should be consequences. Lisa's face crumpled. You're my son. You'll always be my son, no matter what any DNA test says. I stared at her. This woman who had been the center of my world for as long as I could remember. I'd loved her completely, trusted her absolutely. The betrayal cut so deep it felt like a physical wound. No, I said quietly. I'm not your son. I never was. I'm just a child you stole and convinced yourself you deserved. The next morning, I called the number I found online for the Henderson Family Private Investigation Fund. A woman answered. My grandmother, though she didn't know it yet. I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my heart, I think I might be Marcus Henderson. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, a sob, raw and desperate and 15 years in the making. Oh God, she whispered. Oh my God, is it really you? 3 weeks later, I met them, my real grandparents, David and Margaret Henderson. They were older than I'd expected, worn down by years of grief and desperate searching. But when they looked at me, I saw recognition in their eyes that went deeper than resemblance. You have your mother's smile, Margaret said, touching my face with trembling fingers. She used to sing to you, You are my sunshine. Do you remember? I did. In my dreams, it was always, You are my sunshine. The legal proceedings were swift and brutal. Lisa was charged with kidnapping, fraud, and a dozen other crimes. The adoption agency she'd worked with had been complicit, falsifying records in exchange for substantial payments. Sarah, who had helped cover up the crime, received a lighter sentence in exchange for her cooperation. Through it all, I felt like I was drowning. Everything that had defined me was gone. My name, my history, my sense of self. The Hendersons welcomed me with open arms, desperate to reclaim their lost grandchild. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was disappointing them. I wasn't the 2-year-old Marcus they'd lost. I was David, shaped by 17 years of life built on lies. The media attention was intense. Miracle grandson returns from the dead, the headlines read. But it didn't feel like a miracle. It felt like a nightmare, where everyone expected me to be grateful for losing everything I'd thought was real. Lisa wrote me letters from prison, pages and pages of justification and pleading. She'd given me a good life, she insisted. She'd loved me more than my biological parents ever could have. I was her miracle, her gift, her reason for living. I never wrote back. But late at night, when the weight of my fractured identity became too much to bear, I found myself missing her. Missing the simple certainty of being David Morrison, Lisa's beloved son. missing the life that had been built on lies but had felt completely, unquestionably real. The Hendersons tried their best. They showed me photos of my parents, young, troubled, but smiling in the early pictures before drugs took hold. They told me stories about my father's love of music, my mother's infectious laugh. They were good people, kind people, who had never stopped hoping for my return. But I couldn't love them the way they needed me to. How do you mourn parents you can't remember? How do you forge relationships with people who knew you as someone you no longer are? 6 months after the truth came out, I legally changed my name to Marcus David Henderson Morrison. It felt like the only way to honor all the broken pieces of my identity: the child who was taken, the boy who was raised, and the young man trying to figure out who he really was. I still have the dreams sometimes, but now I understand them. They're not nightmares, they're memories, fragments of a life interrupted but not destroyed. And sometimes, just sometimes, I can hear my biological mother singing, "You Are My Sunshine," and feel, for just a moment, like I know who I am. The family Lisa destroyed wasn't just mine, it was hers too. In trying to create the perfect life she'd always wanted, she'd torn apart multiple families and left everyone involved to pick up the pieces. Love, I learned, isn't just about wanting someone, it's about wanting what's best for them, even when that means letting go. I visit her sometimes now. She's older, grayer, worn down by the weight of her choices. We don't talk about the past or the future. We just sit together, two people forever connected by a love that was real but built on something that wasn't. "I'm sorry," she tells me every time. "I know," I tell her back. And maybe, someday, that will be enough.